If you're at the lowest or one of the lowest points of your life right now as a Muslim, I really want you to listen to this, and I mean it. I remember in 2022, I was at the darkest or one of the darkest points of my life. And it was when that self-improvement content kind of like red pill stuff was coming out. And I'm not a revert, just for context. I'm not someone who had a very depressing backstory before accepting Islam. Yes, there were some sad moments, but I wasn't someone who was, let's say, having, or I don't possess a very interesting story. But the one thing that I feel like many people can relate to is that before practicing, I wasn't taken seriously. I didn't have any high ambitions. I was just someone who wanted to game for a living, and I didn't really think much about what happens when you die and what happens when you actually meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so I decided to create a channel after practicing Islam and coming to the realization that everything in self-improvement is already in Islam. The main point that I want to bring is that this isn't going to be a sort of guide or video that is going to be like 30 days or 7 days or I don't know, 90 days of a challenge. It's going to be something that is going to last 4 years. Why have I chosen 4 years? Well, I'll get into that in the video, inshallah, but I want us to kind of like detox from the mindset that it has to be a 30-day challenge, a 7-day challenge, when we, for example, want to be among those who are steadfast for a long time. I really don't want you to watch this video and not leave with anything beneficial. So I've created a Notion template that we'll be using alongside this video. So I recommend you to check it out. It's free. It's in the description, inshallah. In this section, I'm going to try something very new. I'll give you a story and try and see how it relates to your own personal situation, inshallah. So I remember back in 2022, I was around 16 and there was a school trip coming up. But the trip that I'm talking about is a trip where we had to draw people that were not wearing any clothes. And so since it was a part of the curriculum, I realized that this really doesn't align with what my main purpose was. My main goal at that point was to become an artist, yes. However, I realized that even though everyone was kind of pressuring me to go because I would get good job experience, I'd be able to write about it on my CV, I'd be able to talk about it in interviews, I realized that all of these things didn't necessarily make it worth it to become that artist that I really wanted to. What I'm trying to get at here is that if your end goal does not align with your means, then you need to reevaluate your current situation. The main point I wanted you to understand is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in Surah Al-Nazi'at, يَوْمَ يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانُ مَا سَعَى. On the day of judgment, every single man or person will remember what they had strived for. And that relates to this situation, because if I literally just went for those people. They can do whatever they want. I mean, it's their choice. But for me, as a Muslim, I didn't have any reason to go. The same with you when it comes to any goals that you have. You have to sit down and understand what goals that you want to achieve. But then you also need to look at your means, because many people right now, they may have the goal of becoming a student of knowledge. Cool. That's your exterior goal. But then you have a means that you need to take in order to achieve that exterior goal. Then you have an interior goal. The interior goal is, why do you want to become a student of knowledge? That could be because you really feel bad for your parents that are not Muslims, so you want to give them a da'wah, or you want to help your community, many different reasons, or maybe you even got bullied for not having the correct Islamic understanding. Okay, now you have your inner reason, but the best inner reason obviously is to do it for the sake of Allah. Anyway, then you have your means, which is what you are going to do on a day-to-day or weekly or monthly or yearly basis in order to achieve said goal. So for example, to become a student of knowledge, probably one of the means you'll have to take is memorizing the Quran. So you're going to have to do that consistently. So what would you have to do in order to memorize the Quran? Well, you'd have to spend time every single day sitting down and revising it. Once you know your exterior goal, your inner goal, and your means, that's the moment that you can actually start to make progress towards your goals without getting sidetracked. Because imagine you were trying to learn how to drive a car and you learned the wrong way of using the clutch pedal, and you learned the wrong way of changing the gears. Like for example, someone told you that gear 2 is actually gear 3 and gear 4 is actually gear 1. So it doesn't matter how much you practice. If you keep driving the car, no matter how much times you practice, you would never get better. And it's the same with you understanding your means. If your means don't align with your end goal, like you are spending time every single day scrolling for 4 hours, or you're spending time hanging out with friends excessively, talking on the phone, getting stressed, increasing your cortisol levels for no reason, that's the moment where you will realize that you can't achieve your end goals. That's why you're in a constant state of being in a rut, getting out, going back in, because you haven't understood that core principle. So using the Notion template, this is your first actionable step. Try and fill out these things that I have listed here. You may be seeing some people on social media doing 100 different things, but try and chill out a little bit. You've got this, inshallah. Just trust Allah and put these goals down, make it extremely specific, and then try and take these small baby steps day by day. What would you say about someone who accepts Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, which is the monotheism of lordship? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one who is the Khaliq, He is the one who is the creator of absolutely everything. He is Al-Mulk, the one who owns absolutely everything. And He is the one who arranges all of the affairs. Like He, for example, causes life and causes death. But then you have someone who rejects Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the right to be worshipped alone. You would kind of say that this person's actions according to Islam would be null, it'd be void. Even though they've been working so hard, they've been so disciplined. In Islam, those actions that you have done because you rejected Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah makes it null. But why? You could be so disciplined and you could be working extremely hard in your ibadah, but it's not accepted. Because it doesn't matter how disciplined or how hardworking you are, even when it comes to your routines and your goals. If you get it wrong from the get-go and you don't have an organized structure, a system to follow, it doesn't matter how much discipline or motivation you have, you won't reach that end goal that you have in planned. It's all about understanding how to prioritize tasks. We've all heard about the hadith about the man who enters upon a perfume seller and the man who enters upon a blacksmith shop, right? And so with understanding that, you can see that your environment infects you and it also infects your mind, which is extremely powerful. If your mind alone believes fully that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept your dua, that mindset that you have is greater than someone whose mindset is that Allah might accept my dua. So if your mindset can literally change your situation like that, what about your mindset when it comes to what you're taking in? What I mean by this is that, what about when it comes to what you watch on YouTube? When you're watching certain content, you're scrolling, you're seeing certain things as a Muslim that you may find funny, even though it's like non-religious or whatever. But what it does is it subconsciously changes the way you think. It changes the way you act. It changes the way you perceive what is deemed acceptable and what isn't deemed acceptable on a subconscious level. And that's terrible for you. In order to become organized, you need to understand the concept of prioritization. Prioritizing certain tasks based upon how much value you will receive in return. However, we can't really do this because we're not focused due to our environment. What you need to do is you need to clean your environment first. And from doing that, that's the moment where you can understand growth and actually achieve it. Being able to prioritize certain tasks, being able to then become organized. The sin of that thing, the harm of it, it is greater than the actual benefits that it brings. And looking at this now, you have to try and see how you can just separate yourself from your distractions. In the book called Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lemberg, she mentions a concept called self-binding. And this was defined as the way we intentionally and willingly create barriers between ourselves and our drug of choice in order to mitigate the compulsive overconsumption. Essentially, it's the way we put preventative measures to prevent us from doing something. So if it means adding an app block, then it means that. If it means deleting the app, it means that. If it means cutting off those bad friends that you have, it means that. Now, this has already been described to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's told us so many times not to follow the footsteps of shaitan. So the actionable step is to write down what kind of routine that you will have and remove those distractions. And a really good tip is to make the routine extremely simple. Don't overcomplicate it, inshallah. The last point I wanted to mention is that you have to continuously keep remembering that you will stand in front of Allah. And one of the best motivators to allow you to prepare for that day is to seek knowledge. However, many people, they kind of don't know where to seek knowledge and where to start. However, one of the greatest places to start is with the Arabic language. alongside with reading the Quran and trying to understand it. But the Arabic language opens up doors for you, which is why I'm creating a community, inshallah, to help a lot of brothers and sisters learn Arabic together in a very accessible manner. And I really would, inshallah, appreciate if you guys would maybe check out the newsletter that I have so that you can sign up. And then, inshallah, when it does come out, you could benefit, give me live feedback so that we can learn, because we're going to have, inshallah, teachers and speaking buddies where you can actually practice every single day or almost every single day. So, inshallah, that will be in the description. The same with the Notion template. So, see you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.